Hey there, everyone. This is Dana Walker Inskeep, and you're listening to or watching the Revolution Within podcast. Uh, I have headphones on today because I'm trying to get better sound. Here's hoping. I'm going off script this week. Normally, I'm looking at something and following it, but I wanted to talk about the topic. The hardest person to admit things to is usually yourself. I had to admit a couple of things to myself this week, and I'm going to talk about those two things. And then I'm going to give you some coaching advice behind those two things. So it's going to be all about me in the beginning, and then I'm going to take it and make it all about you, which is what it's supposed to be about. I began coaching as a weight loss coach, and I had some great clients, and I've made some, most of those clients were my friends originally, or people that I went to school with, or both. And I feel like I taught some people some good stuff, but ultimately it didn't resonate with me because weight gain or weight fluctuations or issues it's a symptom of a larger problem. And coaching weight loss to me is like excuse me, putting a band-aid on a bullet wound. Because if you're not going to examine why your weight fluctuates, then you're just going to keep repeating the pattern over and over again, which I think those of us who have struggled with our weight over decades and decades have learned is that, there's a reason. There are many reasons. And maybe some people can lose it once and keep it off and be like, yay, and that's awesome. I'm not one of those people. I don't know many people like that. I know people who don't have a weight issue. Like my husband and our older son will probably, never really have that issue. My younger son, though, he's following mom's footsteps. And I see now that it wasn't my fault. Like, I spent years and years and decades, like just shaming and blaming myself for not having any self-control, or developing an eating disorder, and blaming myself. I have responsibility, but as far as like blaming myself for it, no. It's more about what's this? It's more about the societal, we grow up in a culture, in culture, and we have influences, and we have and our parents had influences. And so it all kind of like, this is the real trickle down. That all comes down and creates, and it actually stems back through generational trauma and some genetics too. I mean, I believe it was Oprah Winfrey who talks about it when she started taking Ozempic or one of the weight loss drugs, which I'm absolutely for. If they work for you, great, do it. I'm not. She said that now she understood that like people who don't have weight issues don't have the chatter, the food chatter. I have lots of voices running through my head on all kinds of things all the time. And for many, many years, I thought that everybody thought the way that I thought. Not about food or having weight issues or anything like that, because I definitely thought I was the only one and that I was broken. But as I got older, I realized that I wasn't and that I'm not. But I think that the reason why I'm talking about weight issues right now is that the hard thing that I had to admit to myself this week was that I was saying that, yeah, coaching weight loss is a band-aid on a bullet wound and blah, blah, but I had to step away from it because it was tapping on my eating disorder. It was really pulling a lot out of the judgment and the shame out of myself that and it was bringing me back to things that I didn't necessarily want to deal with. But I am dealing with them. I am dealing with them on my own, and with other coaching, So admitting that was, it was hard, but it was also like enlightening, or like bing. While I've been changing my direction in coaching, and maybe some of you have seen a little bit of my social media content. I know that, the algorithm is what it is, and when you're a coach, you want to, find your clients. You want to find your people. I got in this to help. I got in this to serve. I am a person. I am an extremely empathetic person, and when I love, it's like a fire hose, which is way too much for some people. I used to take that rejection very personally, and now I understand it, and I don't. I'm not for everyone. As a friend, as a friend, as a love, as any, as a coach, any of it, and that's fine, and that's, I've become really good with who I am. And so the people that are meant to be in my life come, they show up, and the rest fall away. And that's the way it works, people. It's energy. It's an energy exchange, when you really focus on elevating your energy and really believing in yourself and knowing your worth and knowing that you're enough, and you lose the soundtrack in your head, or that broken record on repeat of I'm not good enough, or this isn't enough, or what I do isn't enough, or I didn't do enough today. Or when you are able to, well, it never really goes away. You turn the volume down on that, and then you lay a track over that of all of the things that you really admire about yourself, and begin to take those thoughts and say, question the validity of them. Is that true? No. You don't have to believe every thought that you have. You don't have to buy into your own bullshit. You don't. Because when you do, that's what creates the stream of misery. And that's how you end up in a job that you don't like, or a relationship that doesn't, that you constantly feel like you're being walked all over, former people pleaser here, That's the basis of how we end up in creating lives that we don't really love. And we were sold this bill of goods that, as human beings, we have to fit this particular, being the entire news cycle is about it on both sides, but I'm not going to get political. Anyway, since I've left weight loss coaching, I've been trying to nail down my niche, and my niche has become clear to me that what I need to be doing, I need to be coaching women who find themselves in the situation that I was in 10 years ago, when I felt every single day like I was drowning. So I've been trying to sort of, find my direction here. And I have. I now know that I'm here to help women who feel like they've lost themselves in motherhood, like they've lost themselves in being a wife, and they feel taken for granted, misunderstood, unsupported or undersupported, and they don't really know how to communicate that to their partners, or they don't know even how to rise up out of the feeling at all. And I'm like, wow, I've been kind of dancing around that whole thing for months here, not really nailing it down. Why? The hardest person to admit this to is me. I felt like admitting that would be a betrayal to my husband. Because I felt like that 10 years ago. And he knows this. We've learned how to communicate. We've made adjustments to our relationship. It is unconventional and it is not for everyone, but it works for us. That's all I'll say about it. But he knows. And we're good. But it's like I didn't want to go there because I didn't want to betray him for what? Recovering people pleaser? Nope. Still people pleasing. And I'm admitting that because it doesn't go away like this. None of this just fucking disappears. Okay? None of it. This all takes time. It takes setting intentions. It takes dedication. It takes work. And it really takes believing that you deserve the time, attention, and effort to do the work and have these realizations. I wouldn't have even realized that and been able to sit here and make this video if I hadn't been doing all of the work that I've been doing all of these years. I could have ended up basically repeating the same pattern that my mom did. My mom, who's been dead 9 years, who sacrificed everything about herself. She gave up her dream of being a commercial artist and became a hairdresser because her mom said, you need a real job just in case this man you're going to marry leaves you. My father didn't. They were married for 50 years and he took care of her until the day she died after she got sick. I'll probably write about it, but she's a pretty great lady. And she, but she sacrificed herself. And I've made the decision that I'm not going to do that. My sister made that same decision. My sister now lives her life on her terms, and I could not be prouder of her. And I'm in the process of creating that same thing for myself. Now, granted, I still have teenage boys and a mortgage and 2 businesses and all that stuff. But even within that structure of life and stuff and all of that. I work on this and this. If you're one of those people, wife, mother, father, husband, I usually appeal to women mostly because I'm a woman and I was a stay-at-home mom, and I, made a very big transition in the last 10 years, but because there was a point that I was so depressed that my husband was always worried, spent a lot of time worrying that he may come home and not know what he was going to find. We'll just leave it at that. So yeah, I've come out of that. I know how to get out of that, and I can help. I do help people get out of that, men and women. But my focus is on moms because I'm a mom. I've been there. I've felt like that. I still feel like that sometimes. But that is an echo. When I do feel like that now, I know that it's an echo of that from before. Because when you change things within yourself, you're creating a new energy. You're creating a new identity for yourself. The old identity doesn't fully go away until you've really created that entire new, like that whole transition. I wrote about it, talked about it a couple of weeks ago. Energy shift, mindset shifts. You can make a mindset shift, but it won't take full effect until all of your energy shifts into this new identity or this new timeline. If you want to talk about, quantum, I'm not going to go into quantum stuff. It's hard to admit things to ourselves that we don't want to look at, examine, turn over, and, there are a lot of people who have left my life because I'm a person who shows up, loves like a fire hose, and I'm a lot. And I give a lot, but I ask a lot in return. And there aren't a whole lot of people that I've met yet who are able to give it in return. And now that I know my worth, I'm attracting people who can, like my best friend, and those are the kind of relationships that if that's the kind of love and relationships and stuff that you want in your life, then if you want your life to be elevated, if you want your life to be abundant, if you want your life to be full of the love that you give, if you're the kind of person that gives and gives and gives and loves and loves and loves and says, why doesn't anybody love me back like this? I'll tell you why. It's because you haven't given that to yourself yet. That's it. You haven't yet learned the practice of changing this to create this back at you. I see it in romantic relationships a lot. I follow a lot of like dating coaches and stuff like that on, on social media. And they often talk about how, like, I'll just speak from the woman's perspective, dating men. Women often show up with, a lot of love to give, and then men tend to, like I'm generalizing. This doesn't mean everyone, not all men, not all women, not all people, okay? So don't at me with this. There's this thing where when we meet someone and we show up and there's a connection, and you really like this person. And in the beginning, everybody's kind of on the same page, and it feels really, really reciprocal. And then as time goes on, the guy starts backing away. It's called love bombing. And then he starts backing away, and then she's like, where is he going? Why is he, what did I do wrong? Is what women usually, what did I do wrong? What's wrong with me? Why did he? Nothing. You didn't do fucking anything wrong. When you show up and you give of yourself, and you really, when you're coming at people with your authenticity and you're showing them what you're capable of, and you're doing it in a way that isn't like, and I'm not talking about like the constant, like, what you doing, and like double triple texting and like over contacting and stuff. Like, I'm not talking about that. That's all that anxious avoidant attachment stuff. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying when you are firm in who you are, and you really believe, and you authentically know what you have to offer, and you're an empath, and when you love with all your might. Often in the beginning, you'll see, when you're starting a relationship and it feels really good, it's like you're looking in a mirror. You're seeing what you're giving reflected back to you. If that person's showing up and saying really wonderful things to you and all that stuff, which is often what happens in the first 2 months, 3 months. But then when that person starts backing away from you, and you're like, wait, what did I do? And then you may start making excuses for that person, well, they're so busy. Busy is code for, I'm done with this. 9 times out of 10, when someone is too busy for you, it means that they're not interested in you anymore. Whether it's as a friend, as a romantic partner, anything. They're just not. So what does it say about you? It doesn't actually say anything about you. It says a lot about that person. And that right there can be one of the hardest things to admit to yourself, is that if we're always trying to say, well, what did I do wrong? Or trying to assign a problem, trying to solve. It's our human nature. It's the way our brains work. We're always trying to solve and fix. And what can I do? What can I do differently? What could I have done differently? What could I have said differently? Nothing. It happened the way it was supposed to. And if somebody leaves your life, let them go. People who cannot handle your love are not supposed to. People who can't handle your light, your essence, your brilliance, your talent, your whatever, insert your word here, whatever it is that you bring to the table. If someone can't deal with that, then that person isn't for you, regardless of what you might have seen in the beginning. Because what you saw in the beginning was a mirror. You were looking back, you were seeing what you were what you were giving. Meaning that when we are giving in the beginning and we're receiving it back, in the beginning, it's all new. And like I said, this goes for friendships, this goes for romantic relationships, this goes for any kind of relationship. Relationship does not equal romance or sex or whatever. Relationship is interaction with another living being. Okay? Let's just get that out of the way. In the beginning of relationships, Everything is being established. Everything is new. All of the good stuff comes up, all of the good, and if you allow yourself to be vulnerable with the person and that person receives your vulnerability and gives some back, it feels good. You know, it's like, oh, this person gets me. There's a connection, there's chemistry, all that stuff. That person starts backing away, hold the door open for them. Because your precious energy will thank you later. It took me a long time to learn that, but I have, and I'm sharing it with you now. And honestly, just me saying that, I'm sitting here knowing that there are going to be people who like, oh yeah, that's a good message. But you're not going to learn it until you go through it a bunch of times. Because if you keep going through the same thing over and over again, and then you're saying, why does this keep? Because you haven't learned the lesson yet. Why does this always happen to me? Isn't because you're being punished, because you're a bad person, because you're, insert whatever insult you want to hear. It's because you have not learned the lesson of it yet. There's more for you to learn. And without learning it, we don't grow. So all of the pain and all of the difficulty and all of the struggle and things that we go through in our lives, we go through in order to grow, in order to advance, in order to elevate. And that can be really hard to, it can be really hard to admit to yourself that maybe you don't want to elevate. Maybe you're done. Maybe you're like, I'm taking a break from all this growth crap. I get it, because it's a lot. And it can be exhausting. Like, people can be exhausting. So if you need to hermit, then tuck in. You know? Go be a rock for a little while. Go live in your house and you know, but I talked last week about the secret to a happier life being the opposite of that, not socially isolating. And that's true. But sometimes we need to isolate. Sometimes we need to take a break from all of that to regroup, to kind of get our groove back. And personally, I'm coming out of one of those. I've taken like 4 months and just tucked in and isolated. And in that 4 months, I have grown a lot. And it's been painful, and I've struggled. It's been difficult, but I can also kind of feel myself like coming out of the cocoon into the whole thing. And that's what I'll leave you guys with at the end of this very long, very totally unscripted episode. If you're able to admit really difficult things to yourself, and you can sit with it and really start admitting to yourself, I can do hard things. And just because it feels really bad right now and I need to isolate and stuff, it doesn't mean that I'm always going to be like this. Everything is temporary. Every feeling is temporary. Every cycle is temporary. Every hardship is temporary. Every amazing experience is temporary too. It's supposed to be. It's like this, right? So on that note, listen, thanks for watching this. Thank you for listening. I know that this was super rambly. I really appreciate your support. If you got anything out of this, please let me know. I always love to hear from everybody. And if you have any, want to contact me, want to start working with me, I'm at Dana, D-A-N-A, at revolution-within.com. That's my email address. Reach on out there and we will get you going. All right. Have a great week, my beautiful dreamers, and I will see you in the next episode. Peace.